Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So here is another deck profile, and again, like my other video that I just did before, like I'm making quite a few deck profiles right now, that it will be a deck list that is not the upgraded deck rule. So it's still 46 main deck and 4 right deck cards. So do note on that, because there are a few decks that I want to roll out before the change. So here we are, and this time I'm recovering finally Luard. Now Luard is a deck that requires to actually play very well. You need to know what you're doing, you need to know what your opponent's doing, you need to check resources a lot, you need to guard very carefully, especially early games, to giving you still enough resources to like grind, because you can only start grinding resources in kind of a late game, but then you are also given some offensive cards and cards that help you grind resources early game, which makes the deck a lot better before the upgrades. So I try to play it against like heavy rush decks. It's still very hard to survive, but then because the meta is starting to go in the slower speed kind of thing, that you still actually get a few turns. So unless you see some rush deck like some road decks, you probably can still survive, and as long as you again play well, this deck can bring you to a very good height. So let's look into what we are given, and starting with the right deck. So of course I'm using the Luard strike deck set right line. Yeah, sorry, it's kind of late at night, so my brain is kind of a little bit stuck as well. But yeah, that is very good right line. It, of course, you still need a great one to get your crest so that you can stride. Luard is something that you need to use, and even with the grade 2 with Leofel, I think it's still quite important because it gives you an extra draw when you ride your Luard, and he has a chance to come back even though with quite a heavy cost. But then when you have nothing, that at least you can bring something back, strike into something, and pop your Leofel for more benefits, right? Okay, so let's go into the main deck immediately. First, 2 more Luards. I tried to run without the Luard, but then it basically just make this card dead. And this is a very important card that due to guard restrictions is your win con, or a card that flips the situation around. Because if you check how Hong Kong WGP Deluxe finals went, the Luard player goes into this swing with the guard restrictions, so which gives basically your opponent a think about to give out 70k plus shields for like a 3 to 4 pass, or they have to take a hit with crit with quadruple drive. So they basically need to take a very big risk that you are already giving them 2 damage and you are doing 4 drive checks that can finish them off suddenly. Because if they are on 3 damage, as long as you pull 1 crit out of those 4 drive checks, they are done. And Luard is a very good deck that recycles crits if the games go long enough. So this can be a big threat. And in order to do that, you need to pop 2 Regards and discard 1 Luard, while you have a total of 5 ritual units, including a Vanguard, onto the field. So you still need Luard. And Luard himself is also a unit with ritual. So worst of the worst, you can put him out, beat the count, and then you can discard another one because I have 2 here, and you can still get the effects off. So you actually need extra Luard. I've tested and I feel the need. And then for Mufasa, some people actually trying to cut her to 3 because she only works while you have 2 face-up G-zones, not GB2. So there's no way that you can do on your first stride turn, as far as I know. Yeah. So she is almost dead until your kill turn. So, but she is a good unit still. Allows you to do multiple attacks, bring some extra units out, which again can be another win con. But her problem is she's always too late. So some people cutting her, but M4 is okay. I can just put her out to do some swings and I won't feel hurt if she get retired. And then 2 maples, mainly to just get free resources from stride and riding. Because as long as I have a new Vanguard on place, so stride is also on place, I can bring her out and then use Luard skill to pop her to bring 2 units out. Right, so as long as I have 1 in my drop zone, whenever I ride into Luard, whenever I stride, I get her out, and then I can make use of her, and then as long as I keep striding, she will keep coming back, and bring me 2 units. And also gives me a chance to shuffle my deck, because I will always put crits back, and because the crits are going to the bottom, you always need something to shuffle your deck in. Through Luard calling new units is a good way to shuffle your deck while squeezing your deck. By pulling at least like 2 units out, then it's easier to meet your crit. And then of course the new promo, the little doggy, that isn't going to play in order, or you have more regards than opponents but this got boost, and then after the battle ends you get to retire him, look at top 2, put 1 to hand, put 1 to the bottom, which is very important to increase your hand size, and it's also get plus 5k. So like early games, you always put it behind the Vanguard so that your Vanguard attack is so big that a 15k shield is not simply enough, or maybe like a barely 1 pass, and that can make a lot of players actually not choosing to guard, and that's where you get your early damage in, because a lot of good players, they will guard early because they don't have enough shield values for a later game, but then you are trying to eliminate that thought in their mind by using this promo, and even if they don't guard, you will still take benefit from it, and you get to pop this to increase your grade 1 counts in your drop zone while having more cards in your hand, right? It can be a PG, it can be a 15k shield, it even can be an over trigger if you need to, but I hope you don't need to actually do that. So yeah. And then for the Abyssal, I don't use this card to stride. I usually try not to, because I only need to strike normally once, and then I can just using the ritual way to stride. But the main uses for this card is to grab Luard into my hand so I can do my kill turn, and as long as I have 2 and I don't have a lot of counter blast open, I can just bind 2 and counter charge, which links to the next game, because again, good players know how to limit your resources, so they know how to not give you the damage, extra damage to do your things, and as long as you don't have the counter blast to do even your strike skill, it can shut down a lot of things, right? So by having 2 pairs, you get 2 emergency counter charge, you get to pick up your Luard, and if you need to put them back to your deck so that you can do a free stride, you can still do it. Okay, And then 2 of the Preservation Angel for shield value. I was trying to use a lot of her, but then she only increased shield value, so she won't be very helpful offensively. But you're sometimes just lacking that 5k shield extra for surviving, and she's there, always helping you out. And then this is a Luminosity Wizard. It's your main attacker, basically just an 18k attacker, and have a chance to pump your Vanguard by extra 5k if she get popped during your turn, basically. Right? So you basically step on her and then your Vanguard get bigger. And then usually with the crest, you do get like different 5k pluses. So the more you have, she's actually stronger, and she's already 18k base. So at least she can start healing stuff while you don't have anything face up on a G zone. So very important. And then another very important card, Drus's semas. So this is a card that brings you another unit, but you do need to retire those units during your end phase. So do be careful about that. But she can build up your board for multiple attacking, so that you can just step those units on with this Luard, or you can eat with this Luard. So yeah, by building a board with nothing is very important, and she is the card helping you do it. And because Luard can bring 2 units out, so as long as you always try to bring her out of the queue, then most of the time you get 3 units on the board. And what you are missing for this is just probably another ritual unit, then you're done, right? Unless you are not that lucky you actually pull these out with her, then maybe you need to play another one. But I think it's fine still. And then 1 Painkiller Angel for extra draw, because with the doggy, the problem is you need to have more units than your opponents, unless you play an order, which is not always the case, because in this deck I'm only playing 1 normal order, and it's a grade 3 order, so you won't be seeing that condition 90% of your time. And it's, if your opponent is good at filling the board, then if they have the full board, you have the full board, you don't have more than them. So and there's no XL circle for us, so their effect will not pop unless you actually attack one of the regards. So that's where Painkiller Angel shines, because she can always get you to draw as soon as you're willing to pay the cost. And PGs that you can recycle, placeholder PGs, because there's more deck restrictions, more grade 4 decks coming out. And before the trigger, lastly, is this normal order that I talked about, Blazing Angel Ladder. So this is the order that makes this deck so strong against Shiranui, because no matter you are going first or you are going second against Shiranui, you play this card, you stop their whole play for a turn, because their dominate cannot target your cards, your regards, so that means you're safe for a whole turn, and they can't do withstands because they have not dominate anything. So the moment that you should use this card is usually the first turn of your grade 3, no matter you going first or second, because if you are going first, you play this, then they can just stride and just swing you 3 times, and that's it, and then you go into stride and you just finish them, or at least like drag all the cards from the hand. If you're going second, you do a strike turn while you do this, and then when they try to swing back, they don't have the ability to actually swing back. So this card saves you from Shiranui or decks that likes to touch your regards, so it's a very good card. But if you are fighting different decks that don't touches your regards, then you can simply ditch it for high cost, or you can just play it for the extra draw for the extra 5k for your Vanguard, which sometimes is helpful. Triggers. Water Elemental OT, because I get to pick up stuff, and pick up stuff in Luard is actually very important, because sometimes you run out of resources even though you keep recycling. But then recycling only means going to the bottom of your deck and then you shuffle and then until you meet them again, but this is guaranteed. So, and what I like about this OT is I can put crit on any unit that I want to, also with the 100 million, so I think that's better. And then going to crits, I'm just using whatever crits, because I won't use any sewing crit because I won't call any of them. I need good great ones on the field. I don't need crit zeros, and then rather use them to guard, so it doesn't matter if they are sewing crit or not. But draws, it's important to have effect draws, so I bought myself the effect draws, and then heal just your normal heal. I think it's fine. And with this deck potential, as long as you get the grinding going, you will save a lot of resources because you don't need a ditch card to stride. You get to keep putting your crits back to your deck. You recycle the cards back to your deck and you can immediately call them out. In order for your Luard to use your stride skill, you need to pop a unit, and Maple will always come up as long as you can stride, and when Maple is in a drop zone. So a lot of actions becomes free, right? And as long as those actions becomes free, means you have a lot of resources to actually save in your hand to protect yourself for different turns, so you can last like 2-3 turns at least while you are swinging your opponent's big. And when you see your opponents have a big hand, you go into the Dragon Lord and say, okay, drop me on your hands or let me hit. Then let them think. If they draw a lot of cards, good. You keep grinding, and then you can go back to the other Lord and just do multiple attacks. If they just ditch a Blitz Order, then you try to survive for a turn and then do the same thing again. They can only do it once, then they need to start the thinking process again. And as long as you find a moment that when you go in that they actually don't have enough resources to guard and say no guard, that's where you win. So it has this win con, and it actually needs you to get very clever with the deck, because if you want to see how good it can be, check out the Hong Kong WGP Deluxe Finals, the Luard versus Luard part. Then you can see how a Luard deck trying to survive by playing clever, playing the right step, doing the right thing, knowing what his opponents does, by limiting their resources, keep grinding, while finding a good spot to apply pressure, making your opponents to drop a lot of cards, and then from there, how you keep grinding and win. You can check that out, and it's a very good learning process. And the deck build is very similar to mine, but then he also uses the personalized support, but I don't have those cards, so I'm trying to make my own version as well. So you can use that as a reference on how you play with this deck, or you can actually go for that build as well, right? So I'm giving you some ways that I go in for the deck while not trying to spend too much money, I would say, even though the doggy promo is quite expensive, but I bought the book on time, so I get them kind of fair. Yeah. So that's it for this deck profile. If you have any questions, comments down below, let me know, share with your friends, subscribe for more deck profiles, deck fights, unboxing videos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.